The sorts of things you're hearing from the largest banks and financial institutions of the world, all of them are saying we have to tokenize, we have to adopt this new technology. So yeah, it couldn't be more bright for crypto than it is right now.
It seems like blockchain tech will have to be used to help police agents and humanoid robots, have them control, they can't be hacked, but to allow them to do commerce, to transact.
Yeah, totally. The phrase, not your keys, not your money, crypto is relevant here.
This episode is brought to you by BitGo, the trusted infrastructure behind the digital asset economy. If you're serious about crypto, whether you're an investor, institution, or building in this space, you already know security, compliance, and execution are everything. And that's exactly what BitGo delivers. With over a decade of experience and 5,500 plus institutional clients across 100 plus countries, BitGo provides a full suite of services, including qualified custody, trading, staking, financing, and stablecoin infrastructure, all in one platform. Let's break it down. Want to launch crypto services fast? BitGo's crypto as a service lets banks, fintechs, and platforms go live in as little as a couple of months without dealing with complex licensing or infrastructure. If you're looking to launch a stablecoin, BitGo offers a complete stablecoin as a service platform from reserves and smart contracts to compliance, built to align with the new US regulatory framework that is the Genius Act. Want to earn rewards on your crypto? BitGo runs one of the largest institutional staking platforms with tens of billions staked across 50 plus networks, all while your assets stay securely in qualified custody. Need deep liquidity and execution? Their trading platform aggregates liquidity across 30 plus venues, giving you better pricing and the ability to trade directly from custody. No pre-funding required for approved clients. And if you need capital, BitGo offers crypto-backed financing, so you can unlock liquidity without selling your assets. So here's the bottom line. BitGo is one of the first federally chartered digital asset infrastructure companies offering regulated, insured custody and a platform built for institutions, but accessible to forward-thinking players across the space. So whether you're scaling a fintech, managing a fund, or building the future of finance, BitGo gives you all the tools that you need to do this securely, compliantly, and at scale. So learn more at bitgo.com and see why the biggest players in crypto trust BitGo. Hi, everyone. Welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast. I'm Tony Edward.
And I'm Amanda Whitcroft.
And joining us today is Xen Baynham-Herd, who's the head of growth at Base, which is a high-performance blockchain enabling fast, low-cost settlement for stablecoins, on-chain assets, and agentic commerce powered by Coinbase. Xen, great to have you.
Great to be here.
Xen, lots happening in the Base ecosystem. I've been following it for years, and we're seeing a lot of institutional adoption. So Amanda and I are really excited to dive into the latest and greatest, but we would love to start with your background. Tell us about where you're from, your professional background, and how'd you make your way to crypto?
Sure. So I live in the UK, just outside London. I started my career in investment banking and spent about 8 years as a derivatives trader at UBS, an investment bank. And I found my way into crypto whilst working and leading a stablecoin project at UBS, a very early stablecoin project in 2016 called the Utility Settlement Coin, which was a project where we were using central bank deposits to create a cash-backed token, a stablecoin, to be used for interbank settlements. And that project actually got spun out into a separate entity, now called Finality, a leading settlement layer for banking. And I went on to join blockchain.com, where I spent 5 years growing the company in various roles, including ops and product. I then spent about a year working on the Network State project, which is a project with a goal to create a new country. And it's now evolved into the Network School, which is a college campus for people who want to found startup societies and network states. I spent 2 years building a startup called Roam, which was an on-chain browser and search engine. And Coinbase acquired that company about a year and a half ago. I left and joined Base, and I joined Base to lead global expansion and everything from community to growth to marketing. And yeah, having a great time here building the on-chain economy.
Xen, you were so early. I mean, 2015, 2016, you mentioned at UBS, and the fact that they were exploring stablecoins so early, Xen, before, the tidal wave of TradFi institutions we're seeing now adopting, tokenizing, launching stablecoins. Were you a team of one or two doing that because it was so early?
Yeah, it was early. I remember we had a innovation lab in London, and I saw this demo of someone tokenizing cash, basically. And for me, that was the moment that I realized this was going to happen. And yeah, the team was small. It was like a handful of people, and mainly people working like weekends and evenings. I had a day job. This was like a hobby, really, which turned into a bigger thing. But we had to get buy-in internally. We had to like champion this idea. And it took time to convince people within UBS and people outside of UBS. Other banks joined this consortium. But I was convinced. And actually, that was why I left the bank in 2016, because I was convinced crypto was real. Money was becoming digital and banks weren't moving quickly enough. And I felt like I had to get out there and do something. And that's why I joined the startup.
Do you find that your background at an institution like UBS is helping you now with the convergence of these two things?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been quite lucky because my background in derivatives is useful for crypto, given so much of it is about building new financial primitives like lending markets or prediction markets or perp dexes or whatever. And then obviously spending a lot of time building a consumer product at blockchain.com was useful for learning about how to build consumer products. It's a very different world to institutional. And now at Base, we're doing both. We're bringing on institutional capital, institutional liquidity, but also serving millions of users and connecting those two worlds together.
Give us kind of an overview of Base.
So Base is a open economy. It's a place where you can build, a place where you can trade, a place where you can access any asset anywhere. It's the blockchain for trading, for payments, and for agents. And it's built by Coinbase. It's trusted by many leading institutions, and it's open to anyone.
Pardon the interruption. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm the host of the Thinking Crypto podcast. I wanted to ask you if you can please support the podcast by hitting the like button, subscribing if you haven't as yet. You can leave a comment below as well. And if you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts, please be sure to follow and hit the 5-star rating. I'll let you get back to the content. Thank you so much. So Xen, I played around on Base for a few years, doing different things with Aerodrome, Velodrome, and much more, NFTs and so forth. But now we're seeing a bit of institutional adoption. Tell us about the trends you're seeing as of this year, as it relates to both retail and institutional adoption.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because obviously the market's been challenging in the crypto market recently. Prices are down, general activity has been down on the more consumer side. So the technicals have been not great, but the fundamentals have been incredible in terms of the amount of institutions coming in, the sorts of things you're hearing from some of the largest like banks and financial institutions of the world, the likes of BlackRock, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. All of them are saying we have to tokenize, we have to adopt this new technology. And so, yeah, it couldn't be better. It couldn't be more bright for crypto than it is right now. And I think it will be a pretty exciting year ahead as we sort of see some of this come into the industry and see the impact of really moving the entire financial system onto a new system, a new technology, which is crypto and on-chain.
And we know Visa added Base to its global stablecoin settlement network. Could you give us an update there?
Yeah. So Visa has a pilot, which it has added Base as one of the blockchains to use for settlements. And Visa, being one of the largest payment companies in the world, is adopting stablecoins. And they're adopting stablecoins because stablecoins allow instant, very low cost, 24/7 payments all around the world. And so they are adopting this new technology, and it's exciting because it will mean that millions of people will have access to stablecoins on Base through Visa.
Then, with the amount of firms, you mentioned JP Morgan, obviously Visa, tokenizing on Base, how is Base handling the amount of volume and transactions, and how are you able to scale for that? You have retail, plus you have the institutions who are going to probably do a lot more, right? So how are you handling latency and scaling and so forth?
Yeah, so Base was built to scale. That's why Base was built. It was built because we knew we needed to allow very fast transactions, very cheap transactions, a lot of volume, a lot of assets. And the reason that Base was built as an L2 on Ethereum was to provide that speed and to provide that low cost infrastructure. And so we're completely on that roadmap. We are providing sub-cent fees. We have extremely quick block times. We are processing trillions in stablecoin volume in terms of transactions, and millions of assets. And the network is performing extremely well. So, yeah, we built it for scale, and now we're seeing that scale.
I'm really interested in the sports arena coming into crypto, and I love the Chiliz fan token coming to Base. Would love to hear your thoughts on kind of nostalgia and innovation. We're seeing also a lot, Coinbase being obviously one of them. These big crypto companies who are sponsoring sports events. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts there and why Base is getting involved in that arena.
Yeah, I think Chili's is really, really cool. And obviously then coming to Base is really exciting. I think a couple of things are going on. One, I think the concept of a fan token is really interesting and been proven out with Chili's. I think sports are very tribal in nature, and people like to hold aspects of their club in the form of tokens. And I think the fact that Chili's came to Base also says something about Base, which is coming to the network where there's the most liquidity, the most users, the most capital. And personally, I love the ethos around Chili's. I love football myself, and just seeing the combination of sport with crypto, combining two of my favorite things was great.
It's so fascinating to see these worlds converge on chain. And I know Coinbase has the goal of building this super app where you can have your all-in-one financial services, but if you can also have within that app the ability to engage from a sports standpoint or entertainment standpoint, that's going to be a super app times two. Or there's so many things that could happen because it's all going on chain. It's fascinating to see these ecosystems all come together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Xen, you've mentioned that, Base is important. It's builder focused. I mean, that's really a lot of the network. And you said that global is the default. Do you also find it important, because it's builder focused, to be bringing those builders back here to the United States?
Yeah, I mean, Base is global by default. And what that means is it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what country you're in, we want to give you the same opportunity. And ultimately, no one cares who you are if you're shipping code and adding value and earning in the on-chain economy. I think the US is obviously the place where you go if you want to raise capital. It's still the best place to raise money. And so we want to help builders access that capital. And one of the ways we do that is through our Base Batches accelerator. Base Batches is a roughly 12-week accelerator just going on right now. And we select the very best teams who are building on Base and help them through this period and bring them to the US, to SF, for a demo day. And the demo day is taking place in May. It is May, on the 19th of May. So very soon, just over 10 days, I'll be flying over to SF to be there. And we're demoing 12 of the top builders to a room of top investors to help them raise capital. and fund the next wave of builders on Base.
Xen, speaking of Base batches, I saw on your X feed, you retweeted some videos of folks who are building AI or agentic agents on Base, as well as it looks like robotics being tied into this. Tell us about this, because I'm really fascinated by it. We know AI agent economy is coming. We know humanoid robots are coming. So what are these guys doing on Base?
Yeah. So this is really cool. So this brought together some really interesting aspects of Base. So we did the robotics demo day today in the Network School. So the Network School is the place I mentioned before, which brings together founders and builders and people who are building at the frontier of society. It's founded by Banerjee Srinivasan, who was at the demo day today. And we partnered with a ecosystem team called Virtuals. And Virtuals is one of the top projects on Base for AI agents. And what this demo day was all about, it was showcasing how you can combine robotics with AI, with on-chain technology. And the reason this is exciting is because combining crypto with AI agents is a huge unlock, because suddenly you can give an agent a wallet and the agent can go do stuff on-chain without being told. You can program the agent can think and say, I need to buy this service to do this thing. And so you're enabling this autonomous economy to be created. But of course, agents don't have to be confined just to be software or operating on a computer. We're going to see the emergence of robots, and robots can do things in the real world. And there's no reason why those robots can't and shouldn't and won't need to access money. And so you can imagine a robot doing a job has to access something to do something. It might be some data, some intelligence, a skill, buying something to do its job, and does the job. And so I think robotics are a natural extension of AI agents, and both of them will be natively on chain and doing transactions using crypto.
A follow-up question to that, because I remember interviewing the folks, I believe, at OpenMind. They're creating the Android software for robots, humanoid robots. And one of the things the founder told me was that every morning, the robots will get their constitution downloaded from an Ethereum smart contract. And they also have crypto wallets built into the humanoid robots. So it seems like blockchain tech will have to be used to help police these agents and humanoid robots in a way of a la Skynet, not to let something bad happen, but have them control. They can't be hacked. But in addition, as you mentioned, to allow them to do commerce, to transact. So it's fascinating. Blockchain is that maybe that missing gap to help facilitate the security and the ability for these things to operate.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the phrase not your keys, not your money, or not your crypto is relevant here. Obviously, within crypto, we take self-custodial wallets very seriously. We think it's important to have sovereignty over your funds if you choose to. And the same is very true for robots and agents. If you own a robot or own a piece of technology, then the thing that unlocks that piece of technology may well be a private key, which you have control over through a crypto wallet. The same could be true for a drone. It could be true for a peripheral agent that represents you elsewhere in the world, or it could be the same for a robot. So I think not only will crypto be the rails by which these agents and robots transact, it will also be the way that we secure these robots and agents in a decentralized manner.
I have a going back to the physical robots, because I saw the video that you tweeted this morning. And, as someone who's the mother of an almost 6-month-old son who, is Generation Alpha, which is the first generation that will not know a world without AI. And it's just fascinating. These robots that are coming into the white collar jobs, they are trained until they're fully autonomous. They're trained by humans. Now, eventually, because a lot of humans, we're becoming more and more dependent on all these platforms to think, to text, to email, all these things. Eventually, does it become a bit of the chicken and the egg when, how humans think today versus 10 years, 20 years from now? At what point does the input now from humans become kind of regurgitated or recycled? And it's just, is the robot evolving on its own now without even human input?
I think that's quite likely. Yeah, I think the robots will get better and better and learn from what they're doing in the same way that we're seeing agents do that right now. And I'm sure the various AI tools you're using right now, you see them getting better and better every day. You're probably building your own apps. You're probably building your own software that you're using, and you're improving it every day. And the models are learning, and the same would be true for robots. I think it's going to accelerate very fast. I think it's very exciting for humanity, but of course, it's going to present huge challenges as well.
Zen, talk to us a bit about how Coinbase and you and the team at Base are looking to police AI agents in a sense that anyone can create an AI agent and have it go out and do these things, attach it to a wallet, and much more. But there's going to be bad actors who are going to look to take advantage of this and look, go out and do bad things, right? Humans are going to be humans. So, what are the security and protocol steps that you put into place to say, wait, this guy's doing something fishy. We need to stop this?
Yeah, so a very simple example would be you might have an agent that you want to do a certain thing for you. Maybe it's buying things online or doing some coding, and to do that, it has to access some models, some data, maybe some skills. You might give it a spending limit. You might say you can only spend over $10 a day on these things, and that could be programmed. You might also give it other guardrails, saying you can only do these sorts of instructions, or bake in that logic into the actual way that you program the agent, similar to a smart contract with a DeFi protocol. You can program in what that protocol can do and cannot do. And so we can do the same with agents. I think obviously there's risk, of course. When you give agents money, you're going to see all sorts of things happen. I think that's very true with all sorts of technology. But I think crypto is quite unique in terms of the ability to add guardrails and spend limits and these sorts of programmable things, which you can't do with today's like financial infrastructure. There's no way you could do this with the existing fiat system. It just wouldn't work.
Speaking of smart contracts, October of last year, you'd mentioned that Base has achieved stage one decentralization and you were working on smart contracts. Do you have any updates on that?
No specific updates, other than, we reached stage one decentralization last year. We're still on that path. We think that's really important for Base. And we're going to continue down that path. And we actually recently introduced something called Base Azure, which is going to mainnet very soon. It's our first network upgrade as a independent network outside of the superchain. And so, we're working very hard on this stuff and continue down the path of decentralization.
Zen, I remember hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, of integration with Solana. So obviously Base is an Ethereum layer 2, but potentially also integrating Solana in different ways. What can you tell us there? Is there any connection or am I off base there?
No, not at all. So we like to say that Base is a bridge and not an island. We created a Base Solana bridge last year to make it very easy to move your assets from Base to Solana. We want to make it easy for not just users to move between Base and Solana, but also issuers to potentially issue assets on one chain and also access liquidity on another chain. The Base app recently added Solana support as well. And so, Base is really part of a broader network, which includes Solana, it includes Ethereum and other networks, and has to operate in a very interoperable way with these networks.
So are there plans to add more blockchains in the future, depending on if it passes your test of quality chain and so forth?
Yeah, I think one thing we are very focused on is allowing people to access assets on Base, which might have been issued on another chain initially. And so, for example, Mega ETH did its token launch a few days ago. And one thing we did was we wrapped Mega ETH on Coinbase and on Base, meaning that if you buy Mega ETH on Coinbase, you can move it out of Coinbase into DeFi to potentially earn on your collateral and do other DeFi activity. And when it comes out of Coinbase, it becomes a wrapped asset on Base, which enables you to access all of this DeFi stuff. So a big area of growth for Base will be growing the amount of assets available on Base, not just Base native assets, but assets which have been issued elsewhere but are now coming on Base.
Is Base launching its own native token, or?
So we're continuing to explore the Base native token. I've got no updates on that, but it's something we continue to explore.
Xen, we were hoping you would have the breaking news here for this pod,
Sorry, guys. Sorry, what can I say?
I love it. I love all the great things you guys are building. Do you see NFTs were a really big Xen in the 2020, 2021 era of the market. I'm a still big believer in the technology itself, like NFTs being used for insurance contracts, tickets, and so forth. I'm not so much a big fan of the artwork, although that's fine if that's your thing. Do you see that making a comeback, especially on Base?
I hope so. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for NFTs. Definitely, I'd love to see that. I think ticketing is one of those ones where it seems so obvious that it should be on crypto rails. It should be using things like NFTs, and we haven't seen one app really break out. We've seen many very valiant attempts and lots of use cases, but it hasn't gone completely mainstream yet. And so I'd love to see that. I also think NFTs for credentials are really interesting. Having my credentials, which might be proof I did a certain thing, or that I've been part of a certain group, or that I attained this thing on chain, and that could be attached to a identity, and that could be used to access things to prove that I have done someone, or I am the person I say. So I think the primitives are really interesting. I think they'll come back in a different form.
Well, we talked earlier about Chiliz. If they can somehow then connect with the sports teams, like I'm a Knicks fan here in New York, and if they can, I could walk into the Madison Square Garden, pull up my Coinbase wallet, show them the NFT, and I get a special perk, that would be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Like fan tokens, all of these sorts of that loyalty reward thing. To me, it feels like it should be natively on chain. It's so natural to be in a wallet. And great, I've got my my club token, my club NFT. I get this thing. I get to go in this fan area. I get points for doing certain activities. I can redeem them elsewhere. Yeah, it feels like it should all be on chain, and I believe it will be as well.
I want to pivot to more of the broader crypto market and what things will look like. You mentioned on X end of April how we consistently overestimate what technology will do in 2 years and underestimate what it will do in 10. In your opinion, what will this market look like in 10 years from now?
Yeah, I think that's true. It's a Bill Gates quote initially. I mean, back in 2016, I thought everything was going to come on chain. It's all going to be tokenized. And I thought this would be happening by 2018, 2019, it'd be done. The institutions would come, crypto would be mainstream, and we'll all be using stablecoins. And obviously it's now 2026, and it's taken over a decade to get to this point where it is now happening. And so I think that that quote is true with respect to crypto. Again, I think in another 10 years, we'll be in a place where I think people won't see crypto. Crypto won't be a thing. It'll just be the default way that people transact across payments, across trading, across agents. And it will become a bit boring, actually. There'll be all sorts of assets, but they will all be using crypto as the rails. And so you'll be able to access stocks, bonds, commodities, but also new types of assets like prediction markets or perps or whatever else we come up with, maybe like private stocks or other types of network tokens. All of this will be on chain. All of it will be accessible in any financial front end which you use, and all of it will be run by agents.
Xen, do you believe the slow pace of adoption, given your expectations that you had back in 2018 and so forth, was due to a lack of clarity? We didn't have regulations. So enterprises, companies are like, I don't know yet. I don't want to get a lawsuit. And also maybe some of the Web 2 folks, it took them a bit longer to get over to Web 3. But maybe this year the Clarity Act passes and that opens up the flood of innovation.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Clarity Act is crucial, and it does provide clarity, and that clarity is really important for institutions. They need to know where they stand with respect to the law, whether a token is a security or is it a commodity. And once they have that clarity, they can move forward very quickly. And so I think the Clarity Act passing will be a huge impetus for institutional adoption across the world for crypto.
As far as your roadmap, what can you share? You mentioned you guys are working potentially to token. What else can we expect in the coming months?
So Base is focused on three things this year. One is trading, the other is payments, and the final one is agents. And so you can expect growth in all of these areas. One area I'm excited about is the Base app, which we've been improving dramatically over the last quarter. That's going to keep improving, and I'm hoping we can add all sorts of assets to that app. And I expect to see all sorts of assets coming to Base. We've already seen tokenized stocks, tokenized commodities, tokenized debt. And I think we'll see that grow even more and accelerate on Base as we see more issuers wanting to access on-chain liquidity and global users. And so I think the big thing this year will be every asset coming to crypto and being tradable on Base. And we want to make that happen.
You certainly have your finger on the pulse of where this industry is headed. That's exciting. I just want to wrap it up with a couple rapid fire questions so that our audience kind of gets to know you outside of this space. What is your favorite food?
I've got to say Indian because my wife her family's Indian and she cooks me great food.
That's amazing. I hear London actually has some of the best Indian food. Is
really
that true?
great. Yeah, really great. There's some awesome places. Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. Favorite musician and band or band?
Oasis. I'm British and love them growing up.
Yeah. Love Oasis.
Favorite movie?
Interstellar.
Oh, are you a sci-fi? Is that your genre?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love sci-fi. I love the soundtrack to that film.
Yeah.
And really great. Yeah, really it gets me every time.
It's a good one. Makes you think. Favorite book?
Again, sci-fi. The Red Rising series has been my favorite recently. It's another sci-fi book.
Are you a Neil Gaiman fan? Just curious.
I haven't. No, not specifically. I'm reading a book at the moment called The Sun Eater, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I love my sort of like space operas and sci-fi. That's my favorite.
Nice. And lastly, what is your favorite hobby?
Crypto. I guess I go running sometimes as well.
That's perfect. Well, you love what you do. And Xen, thank you so much for joining us. Very exciting what you have going on. You certainly have the built-in community, and we look forward to seeing it all come to life in the coming years.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't as yet. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please follow and leave a 5-star rating. Thank you so much.